Yeah, I want to use this in this little video cast. I'm just going to review back through, sort of wrap up the ideas having to do with the relationship between your research purpose, your topic, research questions, and hypotheses. And I'm going to use this article right here to sort of show that relationship. And so first they've developed, or they've had their overall sort of goal, research question, research problem, okay, which is right here. The goal of our research were to assess the levels of multicultural efficacy on a sample of pre-service teachers and to determine how their perceptions might be related to their personal characteristics. So that's sort of the broader question that they started with. From there, they needed to narrow that down to specific research questions that had fairly clear variables that they wanted to investigate, okay, within this research project. And so to get to this process where they sort of identified, here's the specific variables, the independent variables and dependent variables that we want to investigate, they started with this broader topic and then used information that they found in the research literature to help inform them about what's going on with this topic. They may have pulled on personal experience, they may have pulled on experiences of others, things that they've observed. So they started with this broader, they collected some additional information that then helped them narrow their purpose down to these three research questions. So research question one, what are participating pre-service teachers' multicultural attitudes and efficacies? So that's primarily a descriptive question where they're just wanting to know what are these teachers, what are their attitudes, what are their efficacies. So they don't know what they are, they just want to find out. Okay, research question two, was there a relationship between the number of college level courses and the type of coursework and levels of multicultural attitude and efficacy for our study participants? And so it's hard to tell from this, exactly what the dependent and what the independent variables were, and that's often the case within a question that's more of an associational type of question. Are there just relationships? But the variables that are identified within this is that they're going to look at number of course levels, they're going to look at type of coursework, they're going to look at levels of multicultural attitude and efficacy. And they're going to look to see whether those things are related together. And so in this one, there's not a real clear independent variable and dependent variable. And that's normal for an associational question or a correlational type of study. That idea of independent variable and dependent variable is very tenuous in that situation. The final research question, how do our participants' personal characteristics and worldviews influence their levels of multicultural attitude and efficacy? So this one has more of a clear independent variable and dependent variable. So they're looking at this variable, these variables here, personal characteristics and worldview. So how does that variable influence their attitudes and efficacies? So the key word in here is influence. So it's asking, do personal characteristics and worldviews cause a change or influence level of multicultural attitude? So personal characteristics would be the independent variable. So this would be the independent variable. And then levels of multicultural attitude and efficacy would be the dependent variable. Okay, and once again, one of the two words that sort of help me see the difference between this being a more of a causal type of question is the idea of one's going to influence versus an associational when it's just saying, are these things related to each other? Okay, based on that, they based on having read the literature or talked about it, that they felt they could come up with two hypotheses, that this is what they expected for research question 2 and research question 3. So one of the things that they hypothesized, or that they thought, that students that had more college courses and things that were more specifically dealt with multicultural, that they would have higher levels of efficacy, okay, than those that had fewer levels of courses. So that was a hypothesis that fit question 2. And so, sort of looking at that hypothesis, you sort of begin to think that maybe it's college level courses is the independent variable, and the dependent variable. So there's sort of suggestion that the number of college level courses, and particularly those that were multicultural, are likely to cause or influence or result in higher levels of multicultural efficacy. So looking like college level courses would be the independent variable, and multicultural efficacy would be the dependent variable. So that becomes a little clearer within the hypothesis. There's also a hypothesis for question 3, and that's that the personal characteristics like age, gender, those types of things would be related to or would influence efficacy. So again, they believe they've got enough evidence to provide a hypothesis to the third research question.